Have you ever wanted to build your own cabin? Well, the people in this video, they did it. No matter what. Young, old, experienced, no experience, no excuses, they got it done. It's super inspiring and I hope you enjoy. Watch all the way to the end because you won't believe the wide variety of people and the wide variety of builds. Let's go. Don't you just love the Lincoln log look of this tiny little cabin? I do. And so does Tyler Reese, who built it. He's from North Carolina and he wanted to build a little cabin for his boys, Wade and Van. He came up with the idea at the start of COVID. He said when things started going into chaos and people were losing their minds, he was thoroughly enjoying the slowing down of life in general. He utilized the poplar trees that were on his land and decided to do this cabin resembling Lincoln logs, one of his favorite childhood toys. I think he nailed it. What about you guys? This simple little cabin just has a main floor and 2 lofts. Couldn't be more perfect. Great job, Tyler. I think you and your boys are going to get a lifetime of memories out of this one. Laura Schurmeister just put the last screw into this cabin about a week ago. She said she was inspired to build her tiny A-frame cabin after she saw me do mine, and her husband and her used to live in a cabin in the woods, but it burned down in the California wildfires in 2017. So this cabin build was all about bringing back what was lost. It was mostly built solo by her, but she had a little help from her husband, Rob. It's completely off-grid with a 5-gallon water jug attached to a hand pump faucet. She's got a composting toilet, and the electricity comes from the Eco River Pro portable power station. The cabin is 11 by 14 and took her about 6 months to build. It's located in Napa, California, not far from the winery that this couple runs, the Schurmeister Winery in Sonoma. What an amazing cabin, Laura. You should be so proud. Oh, look at their sweet dog, Eli, too. Way to go. All right, next up is 12-year-old Jonah. He wanted to build a cabin because he wanted to have somewhere to enjoy life, he told me. He didn't want to have to worry about school and other things. He just wants to relax and sit around the fire with homemade food and go fishing with his dog. He said he got the idea while he was deer hunting. Looking at the deer blinds in the woods. He started looking for ideas, came across our channels, and then Dad and brother helped build the cabin 1 month later. He said next thing he wants to do is build a floating cabin for their pond. I love it. Absolutely amazing job, Jonah. Way to go. All right, next comes the very impressive 62-year-old Luis Mendez, who built this amazing horse trailer conversion. Luis is a classical pianist conductor and said he was inspired after watching me build my cabin and my truck camper and stuff, and he's like, I just have to do that. You got to go check out his YouTube channel for more in-depth deep dive into this build. You can check it out. And also, you get to listen to him play this amazing piano music. He really is super talented. I absolutely love conversions like this, and this one turned out so good. Congrats, Lewis. And guys, go check out his channel, Bach in the Woods. Isn't this just an adorable 6x8 little A-frame? Meet the builder, 66-year-old Jacqueline, who lives outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. She built this thing completely on her own. Jacqueline is a biologist, and she wanted a place where she could photograph mule deer, bobcats, and fox going by without them noticing. Friends and family keep asking, when will it be finished? She says that annoyed her. It's all about the journey, not the destination, she says. Said she was inspired to build it after she watched me build mine. She simply wanted to know if she could do it. She started in August of 2022. She had a pile of pallets and leftover wood and wondered if she could build a cabin with it. Space on her land suggested itself and limited the size, and she didn't want to cut down any trees. Jacqueline says she never considers an age a factor, and next up, she just might build a vardo. Way to go. This is just awesome, Jacqueline. Meet Clark and Martha, who have been in Alaska for 4 years, and almost 2 years ago bought raw land off the road system. That's where they've decided to build a life of their own, completely with sweat equity, doing everything themselves. Initially, the land was only accessible by snow machine or ATV, but now they plow their way in and out, which is not easy. But this is a life built on freedom, and freedom does have its advantages. Despite all the difficulties, it can be a really beautiful thing. If you want to follow along their journey, check out their channel, Clark and Martha Off-Grid in Alaska. Next up is Sam and Zach Payton, who have been on a path, they say, similar to Dave and I, where you just kind of live simply and work really hard until you can afford a piece of land, and that's exactly what they did. In 2022, they got set up in the North Woods of Minnesota. They got some acreage. They already had their yurt. They had been set up on somebody else's land, but now they could put it up on their own land. And now they can dream about what they're going to do on the land, including building a future cabin, and who knows what else will come their way. But they did it right. They did it slowly. They saved their money. They worked really hard. Dave and I are big proponents of starting small, and you kind of have to sacrifice the way you live sometimes. But this is looking like some pretty good living, you guys. This yurt setup is fantastic. And congratulations on your new plot of land and all your future plans. How exciting. And if you guys want to follow along on their journey, they have a YouTube channel, Sam and Zach. Go check it out. All right, this cabin was built by Dave and Meg, and I'm going to let them tell you all about it.
Hi Brooke, we're Dave and Meg. We saw you build a tiny cabin, and we thought, why not? We can do that too.
So in 2020, we bought 5 acres in the country, sat on it for about a year doing some clearing, and thought, after seeing your video, Brooke, we thought, we could build our own cabin.
So we started last year, so 2022, and in the spring, like April, working weekends, and not a lot of stress, just did what we could when we could, and didn't interrupt our lives too much, but we loved it, and we're always excited to come out here and work. And 6 months later,
here we are.
We have a cabin we can stay in. It's beautiful, beautiful views, beautiful forest around us. We love it, and we just want to thank you for inspiring us to get outside and get happy and be radical.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Very, very cool, you guys. Congrats. Check out this A-frame. All right, this one is courtesy of Margie Wagner. Her and her husband built this. After watching me build my A-frame, they bought the plans. Said they spent about $3,000. They've got a 4-foot deck on the front and a 3-foot deck on the side by the door. And they did all the work together. Took them about 16 days. Beautiful sleeping cabin with a ceiling fan and bed and mosquito netting. And they just truly enjoyed the process, and it was like a dream come true. Very cool. Just look at this beautiful river. Hey, that looks like a good spot to build a cabin, right? Well, that's exactly what Jessica and Josh Wright thought. They live here on this land, this beautiful 38 acres in the foothills of North Carolina, with her parents. And they also love to participate in the primitive rendezvous. So they set up their tent nearby the creek and got to work. They built this beautiful cabin, a 12 by 16, mostly used rough cut lumber. They said they were inspired to do this cabin after watching Dave and I build some of our cabins and talking about how you could do it really affordably if you do the work yourself and source your materials really smartly. And, that's what sweat equity is all about, and that's how a project like this just really pays off. I think they did a beautiful job, and the cabin's just stunning. These paintings were done by Jessica's son, and she's a potter by trade, so lots of cool stuff in the cabin. Lots of good times to be had for the family, campfires, and friends, and I just know you guys are going to have just wonderful memories in this cabin. Way to go! Meet Wendy Eden. She discovered my channel after she was searching for ideas about building their own cabin. Her and her husband, Bob, wanted to build a sleeping cabin on their son's property. It was on a lake and remote, and since they live on the east side of Vancouver Island, things were going to be a little more tricky than normal. Getting to the site meant having to use boats, and most of the building was done prior in their garage, using 4x8 sections. Wendy said she did a lot of that work, really learning how to use the tools and build those skills, and said she felt quite empowered doing so. She said she can now honestly say that we built that off-grid cabin, not just her husband. She's very, very proud of the job they did, and now they have a place to really kick back with their family and be totally comfortable. It's all about family time, and boy, what a beautiful place it looks like it is. I just have one question. Can you adopt me, Wendy? And oh yeah, she also has an outdoor channel. Go check it out. Way to go, Wendy. This next build comes from Bobby Leduc, who did an amazing job converting a completely empty cargo trailer into this very, very comfortable camper. She says something awakened the pioneer spirit in her to learn how to build and do these things. After watching a PBS special on Dick Proenneke, no surprise, that is inspiring to so many people. And also from watching our channel, so thanks for that, Bobby. With no prior building skills and completely alone, she pulled off this amazing build and has big, big plans for the future. Follow along on her exciting journey with her on her YouTube channel, Woman of Truth. This cute little 9x7 A-frame with a bump out was built by Mike Delancey out of Mason, New Hampshire. He says he got the idea to build this after watching one of my winter overnight videos in my cabin. He wanted a place where he could do that too. It's built with rough cut lumber, and he says he doesn't have any experience in it. If you look real close, you can tell. But I'll tell you what, Mike, I think it looks great. Cute little place to bug out for the night and get away from life. I think you did a great job. Enjoy it. Meet Jay and Jen, a Michigan couple slowly making their off-grid dream come true. And just look at that beautiful cabin. Their story starts by knowing that if you want anything, you've got to work really hard. And that's exactly what they did to become debt-free. Then that freed them up to look for a small, remote parcel that they could start building their dream on. They started slowly, clearing the land mostly by hand and living in a camper while they built the cabin. They put up a sawmill on the property and utilized a lot of trees that were already there, which really helped them save. Jay and Jen emphasized the idea that if you do it slowly and out of pocket, especially debt-free, that anybody can do this. Over time, they've been able to purchase the parcels that are next door to them too. They stress that getting off the beaten path on seasonal roads and without utilities is what makes owning acreage possible for the average person. Jen is a teacher and is able to teach online at the cabin, while Jay owns his own small service business, which lets him be flexible and creative with his schedule. It's an absolutely stunning cabin and inspiring story. To follow along with their journey and get more inspiration, check out their YouTube channel, Off Grid with Jay and Jen. This 16 by 20 dry cabin was built near Mercer, Wisconsin by Gerald Nichols. He was inspired after watching some of my husband's channel and just really wanted a chance to live the way the pioneers did back in the day. The cabin is wired for electric but runs off a generator and is heated by a wood stove. He said building it really helped him through some tough times. I think it turned out great, Gerald. Matt Short calls this 120 acres of pure Michigan heaven. After consulting his granddaughter in 2019, he got to work. Inside, the cabin has a loft for sleeping. Besides being a great place to hunt deer, it's quite comfortable and cozy. And the pond turns into the most awesome skating rink. There's an outdoor shower building, an outdoor full kitchen, and a 10 by 20 deck. What a fantastic place. 74-year-old Bob Erickson of Florida built this cute little cabin. He said he was inspired to try to build something after watching some of mine and my husband's videos, plus Deke Diedrichsen, who was the designer of the A-frame I built. If you want to see more, you can check out his YouTube channel, Robert Erickson and the Stuff That I Have Made. Check out this amazing sheep wagon by Louis Yersa, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Louis. I didn't get a lot of information from Louis about this build or much about him, but he did say this: I've got a comfortable home. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've been sleeping out in my sheep wagon on the weekends with the front door half open and the windows down. Cool breeze all night, and you can't beat the sounds. Oh man, I just love this. Very, very cool build. I just love a good restoration project, and this one comes from Terry and her husband in Oklahoma. They needed to convert this building into a little tiny home so that she could help take care of her aging parents who were in their 80s. This man cave was built by Terry's father back in the day, but it was in disrepair and far from being able to be lived in. So they devised a plan. Although the couple was in their 60s and didn't have much building experience, they figured it out as they went along, including how to get these heavy sheets of OSB on the roof. They used as much reclaimed wood as possible, and also trees from their own property to use as posts inside and on the outside porch. With the addition, she was able to get her piano back inside and really make this place a place that felt like home. They did what they could with the time and money they had, but the result is an absolutely charming place to live while at the same time being close enough to help her parents. They lovingly call this Crooked Cottage since nothing in the original build was straight. Aggie Williams said, "We wanted out of the city. So just before COVID, they found some cheap land, 20 acres in Missouri in the Ozark Mountains, their most favorite place to be." She said after long debates, they decided not to go off-grid. They'll have a well and other amenities, and they're going to build a beautiful home in 8 years when the husband retires. But in the meantime, they're clearing paths and enjoying great camping. Lisa Gander was an adult before she ever saw the land that her grandfather owned in northern Wisconsin. It wasn't until he passed and his brother inherited the land and then wanted to sell it did she get her first look at it. They went to see it to satisfy a curiosity, but left with a deep connection to Lost Lake and ended up putting in an offer to buy it. And that's when their building journey began. They bought the land in 2019 and have been slowly building cabins and outbuildings and generally enjoying life there. All the work has been done by family and friends using as much reclaimed materials as possible. Although there's more work to be done, very satisfying to know that this land will stay in the family for years to come. 2 years ago, Loretta and Jason bought a gorgeous 50-acre property on the Canadian Shield near Lake Nipissing, Ontario. It already had a 16 by 40 cabin with a loft, and they run that with a generator and heat it with a wood stove. And now they're in the process of building extra bunkies for their grown children and the teenagers in tow. How about that? Everybody gets their own bunkie? I love that idea. This family is going to have so many great memories at this property. What a cool place. Congrats, you guys. Meet Caitlin and Ryan Holler, a couple that is determined to make a life in Alaska, so much so that they bought some property sight unseen and are turning it into their dream property. It's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, but that is exactly what they're up for, this big challenge of doing it yourself out of pocket, little by little as you can afford it, just like Dave and I did. They plan on building a 12 by 16 stockade-style cabin, and check out this chicken coop that Caitlin built all by herself. Very cool. We wish you guys the best of luck on your journey and keep us posted. For Louise and Dave Green of BC, Canada, it all starts with an outhouse, as it should. With absolutely no building experience, and just like that, they are literally doing instead of dreaming. I wish you guys nothing but the best on your building adventure. Congrats. Dawn Austin said 2 years ago she and her husband decided they were ready to just leave it all behind and live a more simple life. In preparation for that, she cashed out her 401k and they bought 25 acres in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's their little slice of heaven, and it sits right on a river and came with a little log cabin. They say there's no well yet, but they do have indoor plumbing and a septic. And last year, her husband installed a nice solar array for power. Last year, they had a garage built to store their stuff, and they've been traveling back and forth from the UP to Florida for the last 2 years, relocating things and paying for projects along the way. Well, now their house in Florida is on the market, and they soon will be on their way to the UP as soon as it sells. She says they're close in age to Dave and I and have been inspired by some of the projects we've done. Well, best of luck to you guys. Maybe we'll run into you someday. Now here is the truly gutsy story of Paula from Woodbury, Minnesota. She's always loved the outdoors, and after obtaining a degree in biology and raising her kids, she was yearning for a place of her own. Neither the husband or the kids were interested in her venture of finding a piece of wilderness, so she did it all by herself. She used her part-time money to pull it off, and the title is only in her name. Since it's conservation land, she's learning a lot about permits and variances, but got the driveway in and even got a chainsaw for Christmas. She is super excited for the processes ahead. She knows it won't be easy, but she also knows that 5 acres is all hers. I'm super stoked for you, Paula. Best of luck. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing, don't you think? All right, I gotta go. I gotta build another cabin. See you in the next one, Squirrel in the Woods. She gone. Oh, don't forget to get outside and get happy.